It's Power 93.7 WBLK. It's me, Adri V, the go-getter here. And of course, we have decided to open up our phone lines to have a community forum and to really reach out to our leaders and the community voices in general to really speak about our current event in our current state and the state of the city. And it would be remiss of me not to make sure I got someone who is intricate in our community and in our state in general, and making sure that I speak with this powerhouse, because I got a chance to hear her speak and hear her heart yesterday at the prayer vigil for NAN, the National Action Network, and she really hit a chord with me, and I had to have her on the line today. So with me, we have our New York State Assembly Majority Leader of Majority Leaders, of course, Crystal Peoples-Stokes. How are you doing today, Majority Leader?
Well, I'm still struggling. This is a very, very difficult time we live in, but I'm a descendant of the people who made it through the Middle Passage.
Yes.
And so with that comes a level of strength that helps me get through these difficult times. I represent a community that is emotionally exhausted by the consistent, persistent dehumanization of our people.
Yes.
And I feel all of their exhaustion, and I have my own as well. At the end of the day, I do trust God, much like my people who made it through the Middle Passage. That's the only thing they had. That's the only thing I have right now. Except I do have the opportunity to be the majority leader in the state legislature. And I have the opportunity to work with a collective body of members who has already started pushing for legislation that would require accountability from the police department. As you know, the police have no respect for our community, and I won't say that's all of them.
Yes,
but that's enough of them to have an impact that's devastating to us.
Absolutely.
And so there's been a piece of legislation that has been around for a long time, and it's always been totally opposed by the police department. But I understand that Governor Cuomo has said if that bill gets passed, he will sign it. We can pass that bill, and it is a bill that says that Section 15A of the law would be repealed. That's legislation that allows the misconduct of police officers to be shielded from the public. That shouldn't be shielded from the public. We should know who the people are and what their background is, what their records are. And so I think that that's going to be one of the pieces of legislation that's going to happen right away. And if I'm understanding it right, the way I heard the governor say he's going to sign it, this could become law by the end of the month. And it's way overdue.
Absolutely.
You've got, across the state of New York, a number of police review boards. But what's the sense in having a police review board if they can't review the records of the police that they're talking about? Granted, you cannot legislate morality. Some people are just going to be immoral and they're going to be racist, but they can't bring that to the job that we pay them for as taxpayers. And if they do bring it to the job, they have to be held accountable. I think this is our first opportunity to really pass this legislation and have it enforced. The other thing that I think is critical that we're looking at doing is making a false police report a hate crime.
Yes.
That's kind of based on, it's based on a number of things, all the way back to Susan Williams, who drowned her kids in a car and said a black man did it. It's the same thing that this young lady just did recently in Central Park, where she was violating the rules. But if there had been police presence right away, that man could be dead.
Yes.
Just because she called. And so it's those kind of things that I think we have to get in place, and we have to get in place with some speed. I'm looking forward to working with my colleagues on that. We have all signed on to a letter. Our caucus is larger than it's ever been. The majority leader of the Senate is a black woman. The Speaker of the Assembly is a black man. And I just think that we're going to get this done with some speed. Now, does that do anything to deal with the unrest that we're seeing? I'm not so sure that it will, because people are still hurting. People are still upset. I don't think that that's going to be enough necessarily to calm them down, but I do think as legislators, it's our responsibility to try to put things in place that will hold everybody accountable for their actions. And the police should be no different. So for me, that's going to be a critical issue to get done.
Absolutely. And I feel like you are really hitting on to everything that initially we're protesting about. Initially, we're pushing and really having a emotional breakdown about wanting to have the justice when it comes to police brutality and the false allegations in regards to what happened in Central Park. So and even with that, you have always been a woman that has had boot to the ground. Anytime an event was happening, you were always present. You were always there. And as someone who understands the importance of community and being in the community, what do you feel us as a community can do? You're doing your part and your colleagues are pushing the agendas that we need. But how do we back you? How do we help out in assisting from our standpoint with our boots to the ground?
I think people with the spirit of wanting results as opposed to just demonstrating anger, their voices like yours need to be heard more and more and more. Because there are some people who really just want to stroke violence. And quite honestly, all of them don't come from our community.
Right.
And that we can see happening across the country, where people from outside the community are coming in and agitating. It's different if they come in to be supportive. Because you know what? We do need white people to be supportive of us. It's about time. But we don't need them to come in and start the kind of violence that creates looting and fire burning and all that sort of. We don't need their help with that. What we need their help with is for them to stand with us. When you see that the police are doing something wrong, you can't then all of a sudden say, well, they're police officers and, you know, they hold a different level than everybody else. No, they don't. So I think sound voices like yours and many others in our community need to keep talking. And I think that, you know, young people, they actually do have a lot of the answers that we need on how to make sure that they are brought to the table and included in these conversations. To me, that's critical. Now, there are, you know, a lot of us who are older and have been out here for a while. Our voices are important, but I think we need to start listening to the young people more. And my spirit cringes when I look at Facebook sometimes and there's pictures of fights.
Yes.
That we got to figure out how to stop. And so that same energy where we're fighting against each other can be pulled in a way that we fight to make life better for us all. I think it's going to be young people who help us get through that.
I agree. I absolutely agree because, you know, we are able to see it and figuring out different ways to mobilize and organize and utilizing, of course, social media in the best way possible to benefit the agenda that we can collectively put together. So in that essence, would you suggest, you know, which ways to organize and which ways to mobilize, whether it's creating block clubs or joining particular organizations? What would be your directives to give or suggestions?
Well, you know what, I think if you look at block clubs across Buffalo right now, Buffalo is a very strong block club community. But they're all 50 years old and older.
Yes.
Here's a place where young people can come to the table. You live on the street, too. You can help your grandmother or your mother in organizing just your neighborhood alone. And so I think that's a good method of young people getting engaged in their communities and in their lives, because everything, unfortunately, is political. Where a stop sign goes, it's political. Where street lights goes, it's political. And so if you want to see these things change or get better in your community, you got to be involved in it. And I don't even need to start talking about voting, because that's not even the issue. The issue is what are you doing to make things better in your community? And I think we got to start with the 20-year-olders, the 16-year-olders, because they're smart. Mm-hmm. And they already know how their peers think. And they know how to communicate with them better than we do, than I do, I'll say. You probably have a better ability to do that. But I look for the opportunity to get them engaged. I have younger people on my staff. Now, we can start working on trying to figure that out. But I think this should be a community agenda.
Yes.
Where are the young people whose voices, who quite frankly, many of them have just done something that most people couldn't do? They were literally taken out of the classroom in the middle of getting ready to graduate, and yet they still graduated. There's a level of power there that can't be compared, and that could be turned around into a power that builds a community. I like to see that happen.
I'm with you on that. I absolutely agree. And to really see the voices of the young people heard, I think is key. And I always appreciated you for rallying for us, right? The millennials, the ones that were younger, even when I was younger, you were always pushed for us to be able to have a platform and to speak and to share and to create insight. And you will use that for the betterment of us. So I always appreciated that about you. And again, we adore you. We appreciate what you're doing and continue to be on the forefront for us. And however we can continue to back you and pushing the agendas that are proper and for us, we are here for you. So I know you have things to do on this Sunday afternoon, but I appreciate you for getting on the line and sharing your thoughts for our community forum.
So you are very welcome. If you would text me your email address.
Yes, I'll do it.
I will forward you off a copy of a letter that our Black, Puerto Rican, and Hispanic Asian Legislative Caucus put out, I want to say Wednesday, on police reform. And it lists 5 different areas that we are going to focus on. If there's any way, to get young people engaged in understanding what this legislation does and how it can be beneficial to enforcing accountability from police officers, because we live in a lawless society. America is a lawless country. It was built on lawlessness. So we need police. There's no question about that. But we need police who are honorable, who have morals, who understand that you cannot treat one person one way and another person another way. You got to treat everybody the same way. And that it's not going to be tolerated by government or anyone else. I'd like to share that with you. And if you could think of any kind of ways that, it'll be helpful for me to get young people engaged in this, that's what I can do from the government level. If there's some ideas that young people have that I can do from the community level, I want to hear it.
Absolutely. We'll text you my email, and I'm so grateful to have had you on the line. So thank you again to New York State Assembly Majority Leader Crystal Peoples-Stokes for coming on and being able to be yet another voice in our community that has given some insight and also some directions that we can take. This is me, Adri V, the Go-Getter, right here on Power 93.7 WBLK, our community forum.